Good morning, stampers and crafters. Welcome to Tina's Crafty Ink Spot. Today I have a tutorial for you. I got several messages and notes to do a tutorial of this one. Thank you. Thank you for your interest and following me and your support. I appreciate it. So, as demonstrators, we got this pre-order set. Comes with a whole suite of products, and it'll be available to customers November 1st, or as a demonstrator, one of your perks is that you get to order special things coming out early. This suite of products will also be available in the new mini catalog coming out at the beginning of the year. That's what I understand, if I read correctly. So anyway, let's jump in. In this set is this "Thank You with All My Heart" greeting, which I just loved the font. I thought it was so cute. So I thought, well, why don't I create a heart? Alright, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create a heart wreath. Now, this particular one that you're looking at here, I used my watercolor markers. I'm going to switch it up today, and we're going to use our Stampin' Blends. So let's get started. First thing you'll need is I die cut a stitch rectangle. Okay, I cut out two of them in case we want to do the watercolor also. But let's do the basic one first. So we have our stitch rectangle. It is the largest stitched rectangle because I created the card base, which is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I created a rich razzleberry mat, which is just an 1/8 inch smaller, and then you'll have your stitched rectangle that mats into there. Okay, so to create the heart, super simple. Do you have a die? You have a heart die? That's all you need. We're going to use the heart die. So I'm going to grab this. There's our outline for our heart. If you don't have a heart die, let's see. You can always do the old school. Let me grab a piece of paper. You know where you fold a piece of paper in half? I think you did this in grade school, right? You take a piece of paper and a pair of scissors, and you just kind of make a half a heart. Okay, of course you take a little more time than I'm doing here, but there's a way to create a heart too, okay? If you don't have, something that you can draw. So we do. So what I want to do is I want to set this up on here. And I'm just going to take a pencil. I'm going to move it up just slightly on the card. I want it to be kind of offset. And I'm going to lightly drop a line around the inside of this, because all you're doing is creating a roadmap. Okay, you just want an idea. So see how light that is? It's very, very light, because you don't want it to show through on your stamping. If it's too dark, take one of your erasers and just lightly skim over it. Okay, most of this will be easily covered. So we've got our heart. I want to start with the flowers first. So I'm going to grab these two little flowers right here. Got the big one. As you can see, I've been doing this a lot. I've made several of these. And we need a little block. I'm going to start with the big one first. And I'm going to use rich razzleberry to stamp the outline, and then you'll need which one did I go with here? Fresh Freesia Stampin' Blends combo. You're also going to need Mossy Meadow for the leaves, and then we're going to use, instead of Mossy Meadow, we're going to use Light and Dark Old Olive. I think you're going to like the way that comes out. I also have my Mossy Meadow Stampin' Right marker, and this will make sense in a minute. So what we want to do is let's put our flowers in here first. think this is a nice juicy pad, so it should come out pretty good. Oops, move some stuff around here. So I'm going to take my largest flower first, ink it up, and I'm going to put it toward the upper right of my heart there, and I'm just going to kind of center it on the line. And there, told you it was very inky. I have a nice juicy stamp pad here. I'm going to move the other one down here. So you can see how your heart goes through there. Like this off. And then we're going to take, since these are photopolymer, it's really easy to line them up. So we have our little one, and I'm going to go right next to it. I really don't want to overlap. I'm going to go right next to it. Hopefully I didn't just stick my head in the camera. If I did, I apologize. I'm going to do one more of those. And let's see which side do I want to put it on. I'm going to put it down here toward the bottom of our heart. There we go. We got those done. Now the fun part. We are going to create the leaves, the wreath itself. So in the stamp set is some leaves. These leaves right here is what we're going to use. And with the photopolymer, you can bend and manipulate your stamp a little bit. So if you want it curved, you could kind of bend it, stick it on the block, leave it straight, you know what I mean? So let's go with, I only need, see my heart here, I'm going to zoom in a little, maybe that'll help. Okay, so the bottom of my heart is like right there. So I only need a portion of this stamp. So we're going to partial stamp it. I'm going to grab my mossy metal marker, and I'm going to grab the feather tip, and I'm just going to ink up the bottom part of the very tip of the stamp. Maybe 3 or 4 leaves here. Okay. And we're going to line it up because you can see where your heart is, you can see where your flower is, and I'm just going to do the end of my heart there. Look at that, okay? If you miss any or you need it to be closer, take your marker right there, just put your line in. There you go, you're right up to your flower. Okay, now I think this one will take a full piece. I'm done with this ink pad. So we're going to bring in our mossy meadow ink pad. Ink it up. And we're going to line up the very tip right here with our flower. And we're following our heart line. Make sure I got that inked up. See there? Now I want my tip to be a little bit more of a tip, and that's fine. So what we'll do is, again, we'll just ink the very tip of this stamp set, of this stamp. And I'm going to put it right at the point of my, make sure I've got everything off there. And we've created our point, okay? If you miss any, you want to fill that in a little darker, just color one leaf. Let me make sure I wipe that off. I'm going to color one single leaf, and I'm going to tuck it into that blank spot. See there? And we filled it in. Okay, now we want our, it's already got a natural curve to it to make it around this part. So let's go ahead and ink up that whole thing. And line it up on our heart line. Look at that. Okay. Now, these are a little bit smaller. I just smeared that, but it's going to cover. So now I need just my little piece there. So I'm going to ink up about half of that stamp. That's all we did is a half. We're going to follow our line. See there? Now we're going to do the same over here. But what I need to do, because see when I do this way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate my stamp on the block, hold down the bottom part of it, and kind of just bend it the direction I need to go. Okay? So that's going to give us, we're going to go ahead and, okay, it might still work. You can manipulate your stamp to the shape you want. Go ahead and ink that up. Trying to make sure I'm following my line there. And there you go. Now, my heart doesn't look quite as hearty as I would like it. So, I'm going to ink just a little bit of the stamp. Maybe fill it in a little. Bring that part out. There we go. Now, let's grab our markers. I'm going to go ahead and use the fresh freesia markers on our flowers. We'll take the dark one first. And remember, on the Stampin' Blends, you're following the lines that the artist has already left you. Go right underneath those little folded lips, which will give that a nice shadow to make those pop. So really, these are really quick to paint or color. You're just going right over those little lines that are already there. We'll take our light fresh freesia and just fill in the rest of the flower. I'm kind of leaving the center alone. I haven't decided what I'll put there. I may put an embellishment or something there. This is relatively a very quick card to make. Here, I want to add just a few more dark accents to that, so I'm going to go back over a couple of those dark lines or shadow just to add some nice contrast. There you go, you got your flowers done. Now I'm going to use for my leaves, we're going to take our dark gold olive, and at the base of these leaves, I'm going to use my bullet tip. And add just a little bit of dark accent in there. Maybe add some random little lines to your leaf. If you were doing this with the watercolor stamping, you would be using your paintbrush right here with some water on it. That's all you would be doing, is pulling a little bit of color into there. Okay, now I'll grab light old olive. I think I want to add just a little bit of leaf right there. It seems kind of offset to me. So what we can do is we can again take our marker, just color 1 or 2 leaves with your marker, and let's fill in this little area right here. See there? You might even want to do that same thing right up here to make it a little more accented heart. Color 1 or 2 leaves. And let's bring that up just a little bit. There you go. So that kind of just brings us more into a heart. We're still going to have a little more to do here. Oops. And we have a runner. So I'm going to take my light old olive and just finish coloring in those leaves. It's okay to leave some white spots because that's actually going to give you some dimension. If you want, go over that line that kind of brings in the heart there. You know, when you're doing wreaths, it doesn't have to be perfect, because if you were making a wreath right now on your own with some leaves or branches or stuff you got at the craft store, it wouldn't be perfectly symmetrical. It just wouldn't. So you do the same thing when you're stamping it. You're just giving it its basic shape. Now see how I'm leaving some white marks on those leaves? That adds a little bit of depth. And then I'm kind of highlighting the heart in the back. Look at that. How fun is that, right? So now, we want to put our greeting in there. And for that, I will use my Stamparatus because I need that to line up well. When you're doing wreaths, you can do as much or as little as you want. So I want to get my greeting in there before I add some final touches. Where's the saying I'm looking for? Okay, so we're going to get our thank you with all my heart in here. It's okay if it overlaps onto any of your stuff, because we're going to do this in black. We're going to do it in our memento. And the reason I do the greeting last is if you're coloring or watercoloring or whatever, you don't want this greeting to bleed if you hit it with water or one of your markers. I'm going to stamp that one more time. You know how I like it very dark and crisp. Now we're going to add some little accents to this. Put that aside. Now you have this tiny little, it's like a sprig. There's a tiny little sprig stamp. Let's see if I can show you which one it is here. It's this tiny little sprig right here. Now you can also use these leaves when you're building your heart, you know, or you could do any shape you want. You could take these ovals, draw yourself an oval, make an oval wreath doing exactly this. You can, the possibilities are endless. So I wanted to bring in some nice bright color into this. So I'm going to bring in some polished pink. Ink that up, and I'm going to do some random little color into my heart here. Just kind of going random. There's no rhyme or reason how you do this. I need to ink just a portion of this because I misstamped it right there. And add it. There we go. Maybe one more. There you go. You've added some nice color to that. I'm just going to ink up a portion of it here. I'm just going to do the very tip. Maybe add it in there. What do you think? So you can manipulate your stamp. You don't always have to stamp an entire piece of the stamp. You can ink up portions of it to use. And see how quick and simple that was? And now, by the time we mat that, we've got a nice offset of color right there that pulls it in. You could even, let's take it, this set comes with some gold, what do they call these? Gold adhesive back swirls. These are gold embellishments that have some really pretty, like, swirls in them. So, you know, what I'll do is take those and put them right on the flowers. And there you go. There's your heart wreath. And go ahead and mat it on. And this is a rich raspberry mat. See how it pulls out the dark of those flowers. And you can either pop this up or you can glue it straight down. I think I'm going to glue it straight down. And there you go. How quick and simple is that? Now on one of these, if you didn't want to do the mat, what I did is on your stitched rectangle, I just kind of drew in some black lines to give it more of a defined stitch. And there you go. That's how you make a heart wreath. It's fun, huh? Now if you were going to do watercolor, you would do the same thing with your watercolor markers. Ink it up with your watercolor markers and just use your paintbrush. I'll start doing more of those tutorials. I've had requests for how I use my watercolor markers in my stamping. I use Tombow watercolor markers and I really enjoy it. My go-to has always been the stamping ones though. Those are I love how quick and simple this is. If you wanted, you could color in some of these little paint sprigs we did, but I probably would just leave them. Sometimes you don't need a solid image. Like, see how we left some white in these leaves? It just kind of gives it a little more dimension. But there you go. That is how I created a heart wreath with the new Framed Florets set. Stay tuned. We'll be doing a lot more with this set. I'm loving it. And I hope you have a happy stamping day, and thank you for joining me. Be safe out there.